Hi everyone, huge news coming out from CBP at LAX. CBP, the Customs Border Protection Agency, the immigration officers that let people in the country. We just met with them this Wednesday, April 20th, and they officially announced that the immigration policy is moving back to pre-COVID era for people who have been out of the country. So just so you know, if you are a green card holder and you've been out of the country for more than 1 year without a reentry permit and without an SB1 visa to allow you to get in the country, technically, legally, the CBP officers, the immigration officers, can deem your green card to be abandoned. They can confiscate it and give it to a judge. I know you probably have a lot of questions. I certainly did when I found out. So let's get to it. Hi everyone, this is Joseph and I'm the managing partner here at Tsang and Associates, where we solve legal problems with creative solutions. So the legal problem is that if you are an LPR, if you're a legal permanent resident, if you're a green card holder and you've been out of the country, how are you going to get back in the US? A lot of websites, a lot of places say that you have to get an SB1 visa. Technically, historically, that is the normal and proper route. If you have been outside of the US for over 1 year, that is what you're supposed to do. If you have a reentry permit, well then you can fly back. That shouldn't be a problem. A reentry permit allows you to be outside of the US for 1 year or 2 years, depending on which one you get. But if you don't have the reentry permit, well then you're supposed to get an SB1 visa. If you don't get an SB1 visa and you don't have a reentry permit, when you fly in, the immigration officer is going to be like, you don't have a ticket to come back into the US. You know, your green card is not going to hold up. So they're going to pull you into secondary and question you, why did you leave for so long? Did you, in fact, abandon your US residency? So that has been the law. That's traditionally what it is. But over the past 2 years, starting in 2020, travel bans have been in place. People who left the US in 2019, even 2018, they intended to come back. They had a reentry permit or they didn't have a reentry permit. Airlines were canceled, other countries shut down, they couldn't get on a flight. So LAX, back in November 2020, they officially announced that they're expanding the traditional 1 year to the 2 year mark, right? So the traditional is if you have been outside of the US for over 1 year, you need to get an SB1 visa. Now, in 2020, they expanded that to 2 years. What that translates into is that if you've been out for over 1 year, but less than 2 years, if you have documents, you will most likely be able to explain your circumstance. The officers will understand and they will let you in, potentially without a warning. That was in 2020. Just 2 days ago when we met with them, we asked, what is the newest and up-to-date policy? Are they going to now extend it? We were hoping that they were going to extend it 2 years to 2.5 years. And to our surprise, they actually went the other direction. They said they're rolling back this lenient policy. We knew this was going to happen. We knew that this was the law and CBP has to enforce this law. We just didn't know it was going to happen so soon, right? Because we feel like COVID is still around. But according to CBP, they said COVID is stabilizing. The whole world is opening up. All the flights around the world is opening up. People from all over the world have been vaccinated. Non-immigrants are flying in. So for green card holders, they should have flown in 1 year ago, 2 years ago. And if they needed to leave, they could have applied for a reentry permit or they could get an SB1 visa. CBP officers, they have to comply with the law. And they emphasized again and again that they have already been one of the most lenient posts all around the country. They've already extended the leniency. They've already individualized their service to so many people around the country that traditionally just wasn't done. So they now have to roll it back. Who is this going to affect? Well, it's for people who have been out of the US for over 1 year. If you were here in 2021, hopefully you could come back before you've departed for 1 year. If you didn't, well, hopefully you apply for a reentry permit. Now, if you were not here in 2021, you were not here in 2020, you left in 2019, 2018, then you have some explanation to do. Why did you stay out for over 2 years? Why did you stay out for almost 3 years or 4 years? COVID is not an excuse. So many people have flown in. What is your individual circumstance? We pressed this exact question to the CBP officers. There are still so many people with very sympathetic stories who have been out. And this blanket policy is just not fair to them. And the CBP officer said, well, if you've been out for that long, you really should be applying for SB1 visa. That is the consulate officer's domain. they are the ones who determine if you've abandoned your green card and you should come back. So if you have an SB1 visa, then that should be fine. And at that point, I just straight up told the officer, but you know, a lot of consulates are still closed, or worse yet, they have just been denied by SB1 visas. And then the officers laughed, right? All the CBP officers were like, yes, we know that, but we cannot play this different parent, right? It almost seems like it's post shopping. They deny you and then you come to us and we approve you. And I said, well, yes, you have been, and you've been saving the whole world, right? I complimented the CBP officers. Like, we know people who have had SB1s denied and then they have allowed them. And so it's remarkable what they did. And the CBP officers said, well, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to actually hear that because then it's post shopping. And that's not actually part of their job description. And really what they're saying is this past 2 years was a glitch in the matrix. Normally, if you've been out for over a year, you need to go to the consulate, and the consulate is the one who makes that determination. You can't go to the consulate, get denial, and then now go to CBP. It's like shopping for parents, right? Mommy said no, but now I'm gonna go ask daddy. That is wrong. It's wrong in a family sense, and it's also wrong in government agencies. In the past 2 years, CBP has allowed for this exception because a lot of consulates are shut down. So it's like as if mommy just couldn't be reached. So you ask daddy, and fine, daddy says okay, right? But now that things have gone back to normal, well, you really shouldn't do that anymore. Now, I know that's a really difficult pill to swallow because I was in a state of disbelief when I was hearing all these explanations, because in my mind, from the news that I'm reading, COVID, airlines is still a huge problem from around the world, and a lot of people are still out. So I asked the question, but what if they do have a very sympathetic situation, right? And the consulate is just being extremely difficult. Then the CBP officer said, well, if it's a very unique situation and not like every other situation that we've already explained, of course, they can hire a lawyer, an attorney, and the attorney can contact CBP officers, LAAX, and they can review the case, right? So just know if your situation is truly, truly unique, you still have that availability. Now, personally meaning based on my experience, and it is not legal advice, from my experience of seeing how government agencies work, when there's a new announcements and you need to roll it out nationwide, it takes some time. And so I don't think this rolling back to pre-COVID era, enforcing the law, is going to roll out absolutely immediately on day one, right? So it was announced April 20th. I really don't think immediately it is going to be hardcore implemented because that just seems a little bit unfair, right? There was official meeting minutes back in 2021 talking about the policy, talking about the leniency, talking about this particular issue. AILA, the American Immigration Lawyer Association, they have issued advice. We're giving advice. People have been relying on that. And so it probably is not going to be implemented immediately. What does that mean for you? If you've left the country for over a year, really take the time and prepare your documents well and prepare the explanation well. If you don't know how to prepare the explanation, go ahead and watch our other YouTube channels. Starting back in 2020 or 2021, we created a whole series giving a lot of advice what you need to prepare. It's not a hard argument, but you just need to do it well. Spend time doing it, right? How is US your home? How did you get your green card? Why did you leave? And document everything. Where did you go, right? Being in the Philippines, being in Japan, being in China, being in Russia, it's all different. Every country has their own policies and unique circumstances. Different companies have unique policies. Print all of those things out and show the officer. Hopefully this has been helpful. I try my best to report what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm learning, and the different experiences that I have. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out. Good luck. Take care. Bye-bye.